3 a.m. Pillow Talk. We have Steve Knapp, who runs a podcast for men's mental health called Forged in Silence on today. And I'm actually really excited about this episode because I found a kindred spirit who is out there talking about men's mental health. So,
Absolutely, man.
yeah,
Absolutely. It's nice to be here.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for being on. What you want to go ahead and give us a little bit idea who you are?
Oh, okay. I call myself I always struggle with this question
Okay.
because the who I am is different than what I do,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so I can go on about what I do. That's the easy part, but the who I am is the self-reflection part, right?
That's the
So
identity part, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's the identity part, and that's the one that we always struggle with,
Yeah.
like saying the most. So right now, like I would identify or call like emotional intelligence, like a men's emotional and intelligence advocate right
Okay.
now. Like I'm a who am I? Is I'm a pretty soft-hearted guy. When I get wound up about something, I'll go on a rant. You'll probably get that
Yeah.
here on this episode about something because that's where you'll get the passion out of me.
Good.
Um, I'm a former people pleaser, nice guy.
Yep.
So one of the questions or one of the sayings that I used to always say, and never really said it out loud, was "nice guys finish last,"
Yes.
and that was like kind of how I lived my life. Was like the nice guy always finishing last. I never wanted to be a dick. I never wanted to be like I always thought that if I uh, if I did everything I was told to do, then I would be rewarded that way.
Yeah, I
And
I get that. So I've been that way too, where if I pour something so much into something, it should pour back, right?
yeah,
Like I think
yeah.
we're taught that sometimes as kids.
Yeah, and so like that was a kind of a belief that I grew up with. It was a belief that I carried into my into that marriage,
Yeah.
into my first marriage. I don't have a second one, so into the only one that I had.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean that was unhealthy for both of us. But the who I am is, and I'm a goof at heart. I'm I love being silly. I love doing accents just for fun. I love just I'm like, do physically just weird shit. Like
Yeah.
I'll just be wandering around and I'll start hopping and like I the kid in me is still alive and well,
Yeah.
and so is the adult in me. So sometimes I'm more kid than I am, but I am the adult. But that play part, I've just recently learned that it is like one of the major uh, coping skills that I use. I
Okay.
use play and I use humor as a way to help myself regulate.
Okay. So how do you ride that line between the play and being a goofy guy? Because I've had a hard time with that in the past. And
And so,
and
okay, go ahead.
not being a people pleaser and still because there's a line you have to ride there, right? To where you
There's a
can
line.
completely be yourself and approach things with an open heart, but
Hmm.
at the same time, you have to not be a people pleaser. How do you ride that line? How did that?
So one of the hardest parts of figuring it out, the first place my head goes is you people please. I people pleased to not have emotional attention removed from me. You know what I mean? Like I wanted the affection. I wanted all of those things.
Yeah.
So how do I ride these two? The first thing, one of the things that helped me out the very, very most was to identify what my values are.
Okay.
And by that, I mean, this is literally like a values exercise. You can go through the list of say there's 80
Yeah.
values. Write down every single one that, yes, that's something that's important to me. Yes, that's something that's important to me. And then go through it again because there might be 20 of those things there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then go through it again and whittle them down to like 10 core things that are about who I am and what I stand for.
Okay.
And
I like that. I like that a lot.
when when I can whittle those down to what's important to me, then it makes it easier to figure out, if I'm in a professional setting, what what part of my values am I living in those moments,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then so when I go into my professional workplace, I'm going to school right now for public accounting.
Okay.
So it's a very professional workplace. It's a very professional work environment. And so my goofiness, to tie it all in, there's a time and a place for it, right?
Yeah.
And trust me, I've gotten it wrong a whole bunch of times too, right?
They
But
get
you can,
awkward.
if, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But um, I'm so much more okay with me and who I am and what I stand for, that if I do make the mistake, and this is where the best part comes in, I think. If I do make a mistake, if I do step out of line, I have the courage now, most of the time, to go and have the conversation that's needed to be had to
Okay.
clear things up,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
We can, and that's the, like, the underlying piece of the whole thing, is the courage to step into something difficult. And that's where I can play and be comfortable in play and still be authentic. And that's where I can still be serious and still be authentic too, because I get that wrong. I'll get that wrong too. Like,
Yeah.
I'll take something seriously that's meant to be a joke. That's something I have a really hard time with, because I'm a kind of a serious guy,
Okay.
which just goes the opposite of against the play part.
Yeah.
But learning how to take a joke like it's not personal was one of the things that was really hard for me.
So kind of just some emotional reactivity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I've had to develop that to an extent. Let's circle back real quick. I like when you mentioned um you became comfortable in your own skin. And I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
using different words, but I think that when you learn to become comfortable in your own skin, it tends to emit more self-confidence.
Absolutely, it does big time.
Yeah, how and I think this goes for men and women, that none of us, we get taught somewhere along in life, right, to not be comfortable in our own skin.
Mm-hmm.
Coping techniques through stuff we go through, and we tend, it seems, as humans, to kind of cope by putting on a mask, and it seems a lot safer that way.
Wow, it is and it isn't, right?
Yeah, yeah, it
It,
good, good.
yeah, it is in the moment,
Yes,
because if you throw the mask on, you don't get to face the actual rejection,
yes,
or the potential. Let's call it the potential rejection,
yeah,
right? Because the potential rejection, we take our past experiences and say, I'm going to throw this. We do this all in like a freaking instant, right?
yeah,
We throw the mask on because our past experience says that where I am right now, I need to protect myself,
yep, yep,
because we don't know what the future is. This person seems just like this person, so I'm going to throw this mask on because it's worked elsewhere. So it is the way in which we protect ourselves. The problem I learned this the hard way, is when I wear the mask, I don't get the authentic reaction in return. I
okay.
don't get to really know who you are, because I don't show you who I am.
Yeah, that's something that I've focused on for a while now, is that if you do not show up as yourself, you're not being loved, truly loved,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they
The
like
mask is.
you, yeah, if they like you, or if someone says they love you and you're not being your authentic self, that's going to create a split, and you're not going to feel loved anyways, and you're not going to be able to reciprocate that love.
So imagine the feeling,
Okay.
the growing feeling of self abandonment that you'd carry if you continued to wear the mask
Yeah.
over the course of years and years and years.
And
You start attaching yourself. Go
what
ahead.
you're actually telling yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you're actually telling yourself, by doing that subconsciously, that you are not worth, that you need to be somebody else, and you cannot be your truly authentic self, because you will get rejected.
Yeah.
And this is just a quick side note. I get to yapping sometimes. Quick side note:
Go yap away. I love it.
if we sit here and imagine, if we imagine, let's say there's a pretty girl across the way, okay,
Hmm.
and we're just gonna use that for instance. I focus on romantic stuff a lot too. So there's a pretty girl over there. If we imagine ourselves walking up to her and asking her out, and she says yes, right?
Hmm.
We don't feel that. But if you imagine yourself getting rejected in the future, you actually feel that as an emotional pain in the present, which I
Hmm.
thought that's kind of fascinating.
I'm, we're wired to protect ourselves.
Yeah, we're wired for negativity all the
We're
way.
just wired that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only reason the human race survived.
You're, you're,
Yeah, it's from an evolutionary perspective. We're wired.
yeah. I mean, so look at how. I mean, we used to be wired to protect ourselves like from shit that would kill us.
Yeah,
Emotion isn't going to kill us. It is
no,
not.
no,
Right.
no.
So, but this is what we're doing now. We're in a state where I'm going to tangent now, where we no longer really have to build shit.
Yeah,
We don't have to farm shit. I mean, there are people out there that have to do it, but the general populace doesn't. Right? You go to a grocery store, so you don't have to do all of the physical manual
yeah,
labor. It doesn't exist anymore.
yeah,
So men are hanging out less with other men, plain and simple.
yeah.
We're
I could
not
go down a
doing
rabbit hole.
right. Yeah, I know. Right, and so like we've gotten so comfortable. Not just men and women. We've gotten so comfortable now that the last bit of discomfort that we don't know how to deal with is our emotions. If you're busy out there fucking around on the farm and you're raising children and you're milking cows and you're doing all of those other things, sure you're emotionally involved in it, but it's not important to your survival.
Yeah, yeah,
I come home, my house is heated. I want a hot bath, I have hot water. I want to cook some food, I just go light the burner on the stove.
yeah,
Like all of the things that used to create discomfort are automatic now. If I want to go to your house, I hop on my truck and I get there,
yeah,
right? Like and it's also climate controlled.
yeah,
So everything is designed to keep me comfortable. So there is no physical discomfort anymore. We rarely have that unless you have like knee hurt or body pain or you're dealing with some sort of physical ailment. Other than that, all we're left with is up between the ears.
yeah. And where does that extra energy go that we don't know what to do with anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Because
It
that's what
goes
we
into
use.
this right now. That's where it's going.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that is
That's where that
actually where it's
extra
going.
energy.
That's it. That's it. I could. Yeah, that's. I think we scroll too much. I think things have become so convenient, and that we just dopamine is right there at the tip of our fingers.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, and dopamine is actually the chemical to motivate us to go do something. They did an experiment with a rat, and they bioengineered a rat without dopamine, and they put food in its mouth, and it would eat. And it kind of looked, I mean, if you could tell a rat if it enjoyed the food, but it kind of looked like it enjoyed the food. But if
Yeah.
you put it just a rat tail's length in front of its face, without the dopamine, it sat there and starved to death.
Because it had no desire to
Had no,
actually. There was no internal reward for it.
yeah, which I think is kind of fascinating.
That's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, that's crazy. That so dopamine. A lot of times we get the wrong idea. So dopamine, I think there's a thin line between chasing after dopamine and then using it and creating your own dopamine in a proper way.
Mm-hmm.
So you do a mental health podcast, men's mental
Yeah,
health.
men's mental.
What got
Yeah,
you?
addressing issues men face but rarely talk about.
What
It's all generally about emotional intelligence.
what got you into that? What happened? I know there's a breaking point in every man's life. There's always a time where, yeah, I guess not every man. I think some of us, to where we realize that men's mental health needs to be focused on.
So I quit drinking March 2014, almost 5 years ago. So it'll be 5 years in March of this year.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Drinking, smoking, I don't do nothing. I live, other than I love a black coffee, not for the caffeine, but just because I love the taste of black coffee. Other than that, that's it for me.
Yeah. That's good.
So that started me on this whole path of figuring my shit out because the way I was living wasn't working.
Okay.
It wasn't it wasn't working anymore. I still had my house. I still had all the nice vehicles. I had I had a house out in the middle of the country. I had the nice cars. I had the wife. I had the kids. I had the job that paid me a whole crap ton of money. Like I had all of that. I never lost any of it.
Yeah.
I was well on my way to losing it. Those could have been my yets, but luckily my yet moment happened prior to that.
Okay.
Anyways, what come down to early enough, I decided that my goal was to have a healthy emotional response to whatever life threw at me. And that was a simple enough goal to say that if you came up to me and acted like a complete and utter prick, that I would handle myself with integrity.
Yes.
And I also wouldn't go home and drink over it. I wouldn't do, I would figure out what that emotion was, dive into it, figure out why the hell I felt so scared, figure out why the hell I, wanted to drink, because those were cues for me.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to drink right now. I feel like having a drink. That would be fucking nice. Whoa.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it I want to escape from? What discomfort am I trying to soothe? And so, like, literally, my goal was to put as much distance between me and a drink as absolutely fucking possible.
Okay.
And if I could have a healthy emotional reaction to what the world throws at me, I'm never going to want to have a drink. That was it.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It's worked. It's worked for 5 freaking years, and I have no freaking desire. I consider myself recovered.
Yeah.
I have no desire. I don't drink. I'm not a drinker. I don't jump off bridges. It's not something I do. I don't drink. It's not something I do. I don't desire it whatsoever. I fucking love the way I live. I love who I am today.
Yeah.
It's a completely different story. But anyways, and it all started with that.
Okay.
How can I have a healthy emotional response to life?
Okay. What have you found an outlet?
An outlet?
Yes, for your emotions. Have you found a healthy type of outlet to where you're not swallowing your emotions, but you're able to actually be a man and let those emotions out? Because sometimes as a man, our emotions can be scary. They can come out more aggressive than other people. Men's emotions, we tend to, and we've been told. All right, I want to get into this later, but rest so I don't. We'll jump to something later that this will leapfrog us into.
Yeah.
We've been told that our emotions are the way we express our emotions are wrong. We've been told that we need to quiet ourselves as men, and that we've been kind of treated like dysfunctional women in a way.
Yeah. So the main outlet for me is to talk about it.
Okay.
I've got people in my life that I trust.
Okay.
That I can, whatever it is that comes up, and I struggle even trying to discern it. I'll pick up the phone and I'll make a phone call.
Okay.
And I'll be like, hey, this is what's happening right now. This is what I'm feeling. I'm not even really sure. And then we'll bounce ideas off of each other. We'll have a discussion. It's got to be open and it's got to be free. For strangers saved my fucking life, dude.
Okay.
It was strangers that did it. Now some of them are my very best friends, my roommate included. But for me, my main outlet was talking about it.
Okay.
Working out and getting energy out is another phenomenal outlet. I don't work out near as much as I should. I took up CrossFit last year. It was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
need to find the time to get back into it again. But for me, what I've learned is I need to express it
And you
instead of
found,
suppress it.
and you have found people that can hold that space for you safely.
Yes.
That's
And I
paramount.
think that's, yeah, I think it's super important
Yeah.
because then when you fear your own emotion, then you fear expressing it for the fear of rejection that you possibly get in return.
Okay. Let me wrap my mind around that. Will you say that one more time?
If you fear, like you're going to fear your emotion. You don't express it because you fear the rejection you're going to get in return. How many times as a man have you shared something with a woman and had it used against you?
We have been taught as men that being vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
right? Truly vulnerable, not performatively vulnerable, but truly
Correct.
vulnerable
Yep.
is not safe for us.
Right.
Yeah, we've been taught that. We've been taught that slightly by the world. I've been in
And we've
relationships also where I was like, oh, this and this and this, and I just got emotional for a minute. And then, I don't know, 3 weeks later in a fight, it
mm-hmm.
got thrown back in my face. And that
Yep.
that's a point where that's an emotional shutdown.
And I mean, I'm not gonna. You're gonna carry that
Yeah. Yeah, no,
because at
you carry
some
that.
point
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw other men under the bus here too,
Yeah.
because we do it to each other.
Yeah.
We're just as guilty. We're just as guilty. And the problem is as soon as we start shutting that part down, we stop getting to know each other.
I went through something interesting. So I like to get on video and I like to be vulnerable and I like to talk about my stuff and I've teared up before on video and I like to show people it's okay to do that.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
I have noticed, I noticed this in the last couple of months. I was going through something about a month and a half ago, like something bad. My aunt passed. I was going through these emotions that I wasn't letting out. And I was at work. I was working for a buddy of mine. And one of my bros there that we're kind of acquaintances, but we talk and we joke around. He looked at me like I'm joking, I'm covering up with humor. And he looked at me and he said, "How are you doing?" And I got instantly uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
and I blew it off. And so I said, "Am I part of that problem? Am I scared still to open up to another guy?" Because he held that space for me.
He
So then
asked
I
you,
started thinking, how do I react to other men? If
right?
another man, am I brave enough to go up to another man? And is he brave enough to respond appropriately? Am I brave enough to say, "Hey, how are you doing? Are you holding it together?" And is he brave enough? Because I figured out I might just be part of that problem. I was completely uncomfortable in person, and I never
Mm-hmm.
approached that topic with
You could turn around and then the next time you see him and remind him of that, and you can say, "Listen, I wasn't ready for that. I want to thank you for even noticing
Yeah,
to hold that space. I look back on that now and wish I took that opportunity."
that is a very good idea because that is now so that's empowering in a couple different spots, right? That is
Mm-hmm.
now encouraging him, right? That was a good thing,
Yeah.
and that is also telling myself, even if it's a delayed response or if that was okay, that was going to be a safe spot to do that.
How many times do we do something and then go, shit, I wish I had taken that opportunity,
And then it lives
and
up.
then never follow back up with it anymore because you feel like you missed it?
Yeah, yeah, and then it lives
But
up
you,
there.
and it lives up there.
Yep.
It rents space. You don't even need to freaking allow it to have rented. But you can, like, I've done this before. I've followed back up and said, I missed this. You gave this to me.
Yep.
I still want to thank you for it, even though I didn't take the opportunity to do that.
That's a good
And what
idea.
you've done is you've opened the door.
Yeah, I just
You've
learned
said
something.
yes.
I think I'm going to shoot a
Yeah.
text after this episode. Yeah,
And I think it would be phenomenal.
yeah,
It's a great way to work through a relationship and thank someone for trying to show up.
yeah. Because I noticed I was uncomfortable, and I'm out here preaching. I'm like saying, "Man, we need to open up. We need to be not afraid to be vulnerable." And I found myself
Mm-hmm.
in that spot where I had that vulnerability open to me, where I could have been a little bit vulnerable with another man. which you don't find a lot of men like that. From an evolutionary
Mm-hmm.
perspective, we were going to war together. You don't want the
Mm-hmm.
guy next to you fucking getting emotional.
Right.
So we still kind of carry that with us. So yeah, I definitely, that made me self-reflect. That made me self-reflect, and I've thought about that ever since. Where, well, wait a minute, I that did make me uncomfortable. I have a lot of work to do in that area still.
Oh yeah. I mean, I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. Like, it's hard conversations are hard conversations, and when it comes to being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, it's one of the reasons the very that question right there, how are you, really is what we is the first question we ask each other on Forged in Silence.
that's good.
Before we dig into any conversation,
I like that.
let's do a little check-in. Let's share with each other how you are, how we are really. And because it's important, we don't give each other as men space to share what's on our mind.
You know,
We need we're Yeah.
and have you heard? So, what do you think the big picture is with men right now? What do you think the biggest? If we were to zoom out and we were to look at all men and the state of society and how men are reacting, what do you think that big picture tells us?
I think right now we're too soft.
I like that. Yeah. Do
I
you
think we're too soft.
do you
I mean, fuck me, I'm probably too soft, but still,
do you think that's
like,
a byproduct of? Do you think what do you think made us that way? Because we come from a couple generations. Now there's a fine line there too. We come from a couple of generations of men that had to turn their emotions off to go kill people in World War II, World War
mm-hmm,
II, or World War One, World War Two. You know, they were literally, that suck it up, the term suck it up came from fighter pilots. When a soldier was in a plane and he threw up, he was told to
mm-hmm.
suck his own throw it back up, swallow it, fight on. So those
Like,
are the generations that we come from.
and I'm not saying we need
We don't. We don't need to go there.
to like go to that level of extreme.
No, I
I
think,
think
go ahead.
this goes back to all of the creature comforts that we have.
Yeah,
We lack the mental resilience now.
yeah,
That's the softness that I'm talking about.
I got you.
It's the resilience part, right? It's the unwillingness to fight through just difficulty and instead take the easy way out.
What do you think has caused that? Because I agree that in our past generations, we come from, I'm 49. I was never taught how to emotionally,
Mm-mm.
how to any kind of emotional outlet, any kind of outlet. You just
Yeah.
suck it up. But there's got to be a spot between being too damn soft, right, and emotionally dumping on people,
Mm-hmm.
and sucking it up and letting it destroy you from inside.
Yeah. So, like, I think this is why I focus now on emotional intelligence,
Okay.
because if we can root ourselves into self-awareness, understanding where we are, what we're feeling, and where we're at, we can then decide how we're going to respond to it in a way that holds you up, that builds other people up, and also carries integrity. Um, like, we live in a society right now where instant shit is the way to go,
Yeah.
and like, you want to buy something, you pull this thing up, you hop on Amazon, it shows up at your front door. Like, you don't have to do anything.
You don't have to
You
work
literally
for it.
don't have to. You don't have to do anything,
Yeah.
and you don't have to go and get it. It's all delivered.
Yep.
And so we have an outside world that does not require us to be resilient.
Let me circle back real quick. So you've learned to put a space between your emotion and your reaction.
Mm-hmm.
That's just so people are following along. So
The pause.
it is very important to put that space between your emotion and your reaction, because
Mm-hmm.
emotional reactivity out of a man is never a good thing.
Well, I mean, we generally access emotions we're most comfortable with.
Yeah.
If we don't try and pause in between, men generally lean toward being when we access the first one is anger
Yeah.
generally,
Yes.
um, because it's the easiest one for us to access,
Yes.
and it's the one we're most familiar with.
Yes.
So the book that changed the way I formulate the way I speak and how I share how I feel
Yeah.
is called Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown.
Okay. Let me write that
She
down.
did
Go
okay.
ahead.
She did research, and out of her research, she was a Shane researcher, but she did this. She wrote this book on emotions. She says there's 87 emotions, and in this book she goes through all 87 emotions. And before I read this book, I probably had the emotional language of about 10 of them.
Okay. I probably
And
have
when she
less than that right now, to tell you the truth.
and we generally live in happy, sad, or mad. It's the three easiest ones to access,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If if we look at and who cares if she's right or wrong, whether there's 87, 120, or 50? There's more than three,
Yes.
plain and simple. So let's just say there's 87 of them. If you can learn how to access more than happy, sad, and mad, you're not going to be afraid to sit in all of the other ones
Okay.
because you're going to have a greater understanding of what they mean to you. So when I read this book, she talks about disappointment and she talks about frustration and she talks about joy and awe and wonder
Yeah.
and how you can pick those out. So when I'm reading the book, she goes through her own little life example of it. But if you take that book and you say, she's going over awe, for example. And if you take that and you take awe and you go, where in my past experience have I experienced awe?
So you're breaking apart the larger emotions that we normally think of, and you're breaking them into pieces and naming the pieces because those pieces have a different name.
From my own personal experience, every time I was able to take one of those emotions and put one of my own life experiences in it, where did I experience wonder? Where did I experience joy? When I would walk around and live my life, I have a greater chance of accessing the emotion now because I have a past memory.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. That makes
I have
a
a
lot.
past right.
Yeah,
I have a
that
past memory I could pull
so you've acquainted yourself
with
with that new
yourself.
emotion. Yeah, you've
With
acquainted yourself
yourself.
with that new way of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that. That is very, very, very emotionally tough.
Your past experiences determine how you react to fucking everything.
You know, can I stop you for a minute there and go on a little rant?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
rant away.
so what we think of as our brains, we think our brains analyze things and we react. Well, that's a very inefficient operating system for our brains, and our bodies and our brains like to run very efficiently. So what we actually do is we run pattern recognition. So you have 10 billion more neurons going from your brain to your eyes than you go from your eyes to your brain. So we run on pattern recognition, and the way we interact with the world, it's less the world we're interacting with than it is our own nervous systems.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'll do is we'll predict what's coming next based on something from the past, and our brains
Mm-hmm.
are supposed to then correct it when that doesn't happen. Which is
Yeah.
when I learned that was absolutely fascinating.
It was extremely humbling when I came to the realization that I am a horrible fucking predictor of the future.
So am I, brother.
So bad. Like, so bad.
So am
So
I.
bad.
And I
Horrible
think
predictor of the future.
trauma, the trauma we've been through, I think sometimes that can interrupt that pattern recognition and steer it in a way that's not so healthy for us and
Yep.
kind of interrupt us correcting what we thought was going to happen or correcting a certain pattern.
The only way to rewrite a past experience is to give yourself a chance at a new one.
Yeah, I like that.
Plain and simple. The only way to rewrite it. The only way to rewrite the set of beliefs. The Four Agreements was another phenomenal book that I read. It's short, so easy to read, but it hits home really good. And like we operate on a set of beliefs, a belief system that was given to us when we were children, and then a belief system that society gives us, and all of the rest of this shit. And then we make an agreement, an internal agreement, whether that's something that we want to agree to and live our lives by or not. Most of it's subconscious. Most of what we do is just like this automatic operating system that just goes behind like Windows. It just goes ahead and does all of the shit and moves all of the code in the background,
Just
and then you
subconsciously.
just see the screen.
Yeah. And we're making decisions subconsciously, and
Yeah,
we're creating our own paths subconsciously. I like that.
and so like we can, if I recognize that the way I'm acting is because of my past experiences, I actually give myself a greater chance of pausing and going, taking a look around,
Yeah.
and then making a conscious decision. And every time I make a conscious decision that touches up against the belief, I can feel it because it's like putting your hand on a hot plate.
Yeah.
You can feel the tension, the inner tension
Yeah.
that exists. And then I get to ask myself one simple question: is this going to be good for me?
Yeah.
And if the answer to that is yes, I continue to push through the tension.
That's what I've been working on for the last couple of months, and I've gotten decently well at, is that pattern recognition and stopping myself and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, is this my gut instinct or is this my trauma talking?"
Mm-hmm.
And
Ooh, smart.
I think trauma screams at you, and I think your gut instinct is very quiet.
It is.
Yeah.
And the more we learn to trust the gut instinct,
Hmm.
I feel like the better lives we end up living,
We
because our gut isn't almost never wrong.
Well, there's a part of our brain, right? The mammalian part or the reptilian part, or however you want to say it, that predates spoken word. So all we had before we were talking to each other were grunts and body language. And I think we have gotten out of touch with how to pick up on body language, how to listen to that gut instinct. And we've gotten really confused and kind of out of touch on how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, what are what what is the basis of an emotion? It is a message to us from us.
Yeah,
That's it,
yeah, yeah,
right? Like it's a message
yeah,
from my body to me, to my consciousness, right?
yeah,
The feeling, we call it a feeling because it literally is a feeling. It's a physical feeling
yeah. This starts.
that right. It starts in the body and then it moves to the mind, and then and then we get to figure out how to express it. So like,
So, what do you think about the term toxic masculinity? We're going to get into some dicier topics from it.
okay, so the first thing that comes to mind when you bring up toxic masculinity is the lack of masculinity.
There you go. I don't think that. I think when the big toxic masculinity thing came out, I think a lot of men heard that there was something inherently toxic about them,
Mm-hmm.
and they softened up in the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, th- yes, yes. I mean, there was this whole trend where like masculinity was like ultimately railed upon.
Oh, it was just they were stomping on it. They were telling us that there was something wrong with it. That there was,
Yeah,
yeah,
and like there isn't. I think we've lost I honestly think we're starting to get it back. I think men are starting to understand that there is absolutely nothing inherently wrong with them, even though that was the message that seemed to be put out there in the freaking, at least the social media world, because it's
Yeah, it
the
was.
man hate stuff. The man hate stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah, it was big, and I always worried, and I've always worried about the message as sending to younger men because
Mm-hmm.
we don't necessarily. So this is another thing. We don't necessarily have a lot of strong male role models for younger men.
Mm-mm.
Single parent households have doubled, tripled since the sexual revolution.
Yeah.
Um, we've replaced a lot of, think about back in the 80s and 90s, our movies had action heroes that were strong and they lived by a code and they
Mm-hmm.
were, well, what are we doing? We're watching TV as kids. So a lot of those have been replaced by, we've been portrayed to be, you look at Thor, when the first Thor movie came out with Chris Hemsworth, he is confident, he's strong, he's capable, he is good with the women, he is affable, he's charismatic, he's got, he's funny when it's time to be funny. And now
Yeah.
if you look at the last Thor movie, he is a bumbling idiot. He is kind of, women are running all over him. So something happened in those years right there when the world told us that masculinity is wrong, and they took away our male role models for young men.
I think we need to be it.
Yeah, I think so too, and I try in my way, and then you got the whole, yeah. I try to do that. I try in my way to do that, and then I think that if we let's go ahead and break into the Me Too movement, right? So I think the Me Too movement was very, very good for women when it started. I think it took a lot of men who were using their positions of power to manipulate women into sex and to stuff like that. I think that needed to be, I think the curtains needed to be drawn back on that. I think that we needed to look at that, and I think that was a very good thing. I think at a point though, it went too far, and we
Just
have,
like everything else does.
yeah, so we've got hyper responders. I like to think of this as, you've got men out there who are decent men who are not manipulating women, who are not using their position to do that, and those are the hyper responders. When you tell men, quit being so aggressive with women or quit doing this and that, you've got a whole set of hyper responders, men who are now backing off and don't know how to approach a woman anymore, versus the men who were doing that are not listening to the advice anyways. So I think
And then the women wonder where the men went.
that, because there's a high percentage of women who want to be approached in person. A high
Yep.
percentage of women want that, although that has been demonized, and there are a lower and lower percentage. There's a higher and higher percentages of men who are actually dropping out of trying to do that.
Oh, there's higher percentages of men that don't want anything to do with women. There's a higher percentage of women that don't want to have anything to do with men. I think we're looking at it all wrong.
Yeah.
Where that what that is living out trauma responses.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, we need to sit down in a fucking room, both men and women, and just
Fucking talk.
air your goddamn shit out
That's so. I started 3 a.m.
and
Pillow
listen,
Talk for that.
fucking listen to each other.
Yeah, I started 3 a.m. Pillow Talk for that very reason. I went through a really hard time in my life, and I realized men need mental health work. I needed it at the time. I burnt my world
Mm-hmm.
down around me. I self-destructed. I didn't know, it wasn't taught any emotional outlet. I never had anyone ask me. I had lost my leg about 6 years ago in a motorcycle accident. I got depressed. I was scared to go out. I didn't want people staring at me. I People were very, very good at moving furniture for me, but never once did someone say, "Hey, how are you doing? Are
Mm-hmm.
you okay with that?" And it took me years and years to climb out of the somewhat self-imposed hole I put myself into because of that. And so, yeah, I think there's too much divisive language between men and women now. It doesn't take but 3 minutes of scrolling social media before you see either men talking shit about women or women talking shit about men.
I know.
Yeah, it's so I think the way society has treated us as men or tried to shape masculinity, I think is wrong. And I really, really love what you're doing with your podcast. I really love how you guys are asking each other how you're doing. I never even thought about that. That's a very good way to open a podcast.
How are you really, man?
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
yeah,
It is all about connecting as humans.
yeah. And
That's it. That's it.
and there's too much performative vulnerability going on. So
Ah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
kind of a
it's
coping technique is still coming from a space of fear.
and we're gonna see that more and more.
Yeah.
We're gonna see it more, and it's just gonna evolve. It's gonna turn into different ways. I got a question for you though.
Okay.
Um, when did you realize that you had to start taking responsibility for where you were at in your life?
I was a victim. Okay, so I played victim for a very, very long time. And
Hmm.
what playing victim did for me was I was drinking, I was using coke, I was burning, I wasn't treating people correctly. I wasn't treating women correctly. I started becoming emotionally abusive toward the women I was with because of what I was holding inside and I was self-destructing. So at some point, I think, I got into that red pill stuff, if you know what that is, like the Andrew Tates and
Yep.
which 3 or 4 years ago, Andrew Tate was, now he has softened up and he actually, I think he's delivering a decent message to people. But back then, I got really into that and I hated women because I felt like a victim. I felt like that's who I was, and that was that's what I identified as for a very long time. It came to a spot where I realized every time I was dating or every relationship I was getting into, I was acting the same way. And I was actually the common denominator for all my problems. That if I have 10 sets of problems that I've been through and it keeps occurring, there's got to be a point where I say, you know what? I'm the fucking common denominator. What is going on with me?
I am the cause of my own fucking misery.
Yeah, like I am doing this to myself.
Right?
And it took me a ridiculously long time to figure that out.
Hmm.
So I sat with myself and I did not listen. I didn't watch TV. I didn't listen to music. If I was not at work, I was sitting there with myself. And I realized I wasn't very good company. I started weeding out habits like, well, all right, let's say a friend of yours calls you up and says, "Hey, let's go to lunch tomorrow at 1." You're like, "Okay." And he stands you up. You're like,
Hmm.
"All right, well, stood me up, you eat lunch." He calls you again. Says, "Hey, I'm sorry about that. Let's go to lunch tomorrow." 1. You say, "Okay." Stands you up again. It's not going to take long for you to lose respect for him and not trust him. How many times are
100%.
we standing ourselves up in the same way? How many times are we
Hmm.
telling ourselves we're going to stop hitting the snooze button? How many times are we telling ourselves we're going to start doing this or we're going to start doing that and we don't do it and we lose respect for ourselves? And I don't think enough of us look at that.
How can you demand respect from anyone else if you can't give it to yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't look at the ways that we are standing ourselves up for that 1 p.m. lunch.
Hmm.
It's so much easier to say, well, this person did this or this person did this. And even when you're in a relationship, I'm in a relationship right now. And a couple weeks ago, we're arguing and stuff. And I had to be like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm waking up in the morning like, she needs to change this, she needs to change this. And I'm going to bed at night thinking the same thing. And I had to actually take myself out of my body and look at myself and look at things before I realize that I am sitting here once again putting myself in a position where I'm blaming everything on somebody else.
What part do I play in this? We always play a part.
Yeah,
We always play a part in
yeah.
everything in our life. We just did on my other podcast, No Alcohol Needed,
Okay.
2 episodes ago, because we just released an episode today. Today's episode is about people pleasing. The episode about last week was all about taking radical responsibility,
Okay. I like that.
and
I
that
might look
is
into that.
it's a phenomenal episode.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Like, even if you don't have alcohol, drugs, or whatever it is,
Yeah, yeah.
like as a problem, just listening to people talk about taking radical responsibility and how fucking empowering it is,
Yeah.
because it's absolutely empowering.
Yeah, I like that.
Uh,
Good.
yeah, and it is a phenomenal episode.
So
Anyways,
I've had the, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I suck at
no, it's all good.
I have had the opportunity to bring people onto my podcast that were in recovery. But I would look at some people are in recovery, but what are you really doing with it? Are you looking at the underlying cause of why you were drinking? Because like I think it does come down to mental health and stuff like that. And I won't have someone on my podcast who is just, well, I'm sober. Well, tomorrow I'm gonna be sober, right? And that's all they're doing with it. It doesn't seem like they're reaching out and they're helping other people, or they are looking at the underlying causes. Because I don't believe, and I may be wrong, this is a personal belief, that addiction is a disease.
I don't believe it's a disease either.
No.
Uh, a disease. Name one other disease where when you stop doing the thing, your life improves.
Yeah, I've heard that someone
Right?
too.
Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I think Steve-O said that, and it was like,
yeah.
I'm not an AA person myself,
No.
but I mean, dude has a point. There is no other disease like what any other disease. What you try and do is you try and at least maintain or slightly increase like your baseline level of living.
Yeah,
This disease,
yeah.
you remove it and then you start working on your emotional health and your and working on changing the ways in which you cope with the world, with your emotions, with your discomfort.
Yeah,
Right? It's a different way of self-soothing. I have to self-soothe a different way. Is what I was doing when I was drinking.
yeah,
It was a mechanism to self-soothe. It was easy.
yep,
And then because the substance itself is addictive, then I'm going back to it for a different reason.
yeah. But the
If
root
I
cause,
remove the physical addiction part from it, I'm left with up here.
yep,
And I have to deal with my shit up here. And a lot of my shit up here is, where did I put myself? Because I put myself in the position that I am. Where I am today is a culmination of a whole bunch of different decisions
yes,
that I made. I'm responsible for that,
yeah,
regardless.
yeah, yeah. And I don't think it's until you start taking that responsibility that you start really growing. I think
That's when you really empower yourself in your life.
yeah. Okay. What do you? So I think. So was there ever a breaking point with you where what when did you start drinking? I'm gonna dig into you a little bit right now.
I didn't start drinking until I was in my like really late teens, early 20s.
Okay. Do you?
I had childhood epilepsy when I was a kid,
Okay.
so I was taking medication that I couldn't drink with. So when I was like a younger teen, I didn't bother touching booze at all
Yeah.
or anything for that matter, because if I fucked with I had 3 grand mal seizures in one day.
Okay.
And so, like, I had the fear of fucking God
Yeah.
in those 3 grand mal seizures, because that was horrible. I remember all 3 of them. Don't wish that on anyone.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was deathly afraid of ever experiencing that shit again,
Yeah.
especially if I was driving a vehicle.
Yep. My
So
fiance actually has a friend who has grand mal seizures. She can't drive. So
yeah, I mean they're terrifying to experience.
yeah.
Just losing a complete control of your own body. Anyways, that wasn't until later on when I started drinking, but it was liquid courage. I found the courage to like come out of my shy little Steve shell, and now that you sit here and talk to me, you're like bullshit, like shy Steve shell. Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that's understandable.
but but I was never a big kid. I was 140 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
Just like I never had intimidation factor. I never had anything else. I just had personality kind of thing, right? So I mean, it gave me the courage to go up and say hi to women. It gave me the courage, right? It loosened me up. I stopped caring so much about the world around me and that taking caredness
And how you
of
were perceived. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so I it made me freewheel life a little bit more. Which at that time, sure, it was fun, it was great. It very soon became the reason why I went out and did things. You went to a party to go and drink, even though it was with friends.
Yep.
You went to at some point alcohol becomes the event instead of the people.
And you realized at some point that you were using it as a coping mechanism.
Oh, I didn't realize I was using it as a coping mechanism until basically after I quit.
Okay.
I never had the self awareness to be like, this is what I'm doing with this.
Okay.
Uh, so that was in my early 20s. By the time I got I don't remember a lot of my 30s. A lot of my 30s was basically just me having drank way too much. Near the end, I was drinking a whole bottle of whatever hard stuff I could get throughout the day. I would drink I had a 45-minute drive to work, and I would drink three-quarters of a bottle on my way to work. I would go for a drive on my lunch hour, and I would drive. Sorry, I would drink a third of the bottle on my way to work, a third of a bottle on my lunch hour, and then a third of of that bottle on the way home. So I was lit a good chunk of the day already, and then I would drink until I fell asleep, and then I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning. The last year, I probably dry heaved every morning 5 days out of the week.
So you got on this
Horrible.
path through sobriety.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, that's congratulations on that. That is,
My
but
Go ahead.
is there anything else that we have not covered that is important to you that you think people should know?
Uh, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I
What?
think we're asking for help. There's two of the very hardest thing I think for any man or woman to do is to ask for help, and the next hardest thing is the ability to receive it.
Yeah,
Receiving help is vulnerable as hell
yeah, yeah,
because it means I don't know.
yeah,
It means I'm horrible, and it means that I am absolutely have to stand in front of the fear of rejection.
yeah. And as a man especially, that is very hard. We're supposed to just figure stuff out.
Hmm.
So that can be very, very hard for us to have to admit. Now I have a kind of a closing when I close out an episode, I kind of have a tradition of, are you still there? And I think we lost him. Let's see if he comes back on for a minute. Because I know everyone's not just trying to listen to my voice. Let's see if he can get back in. We'll give it a couple minutes. And I don't think he's going to make it back in. So I'm going to close this out on my own, apparently, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of what I do and what I've done to try to keep to my true masculinity and try to, I've come up with some tenets, I guess you could call it, that I am following every day. I think we need structure. I think the world has taken a lot of structure away from us. And so, something I've been doing, whether it interests you or it just helps somebody, hopefully it helps somebody, is I am up at the same time every morning. I wake up at 5 a.m. The first thing I do after, I get a little salt drink in me because, caffeine does not kick in for your adenosine system isn't fully awake for 90 minutes to 2 hours. So caffeine isn't going to affect you right when you first wake up. But if you drink a little bit of Kool-Aid or something like that with salt in it, and they market actual brands of drinks to wake up to drink. You So salt works on your adrenal system. So your adrenal system is alive. So just maybe a quarter teaspoon of salt in something, and then a little flavor with that salt because you don't want to just drink salt, works a lot better for you. It's going to help you wake up and try to wait about an hour and a half before you get caffeine. So that's what I try to do. I've been waking up at 5 in the morning. I get that little drink of me. I take care of business first, business always first. And I try to get as much stuff done before the sun comes up. Because I think as humans, we were meant to wake up with the sun and go to bed with the sun. So, anyways, there's my little rant. I hope everybody enjoys this episode, and y'all have a good day.